Welcome back. We're doing a real deep dive here with Lauren Lapkus on episode number 107, Grandma Was a Rolling Stone. This episode is a little bit of a doozy, so seatbelt yourself in and welcome back to the show, Lauren Lapkus. Okay, so we see Kerri Russell in the backyard and her mound of hair.
Stunning. Stunning.
She puts you to shame, Danielle.
Unbelievable.
I thought maybe they can't have Tipping in this episode because there's just too much hair.
Too much
Honestly,
hair. From
that
too
would
much
make
shirts
sense.
to too much hair in one episode.
I didn't remember. I remember when Kerri Russell then cut her hair when she was on Felicity, and
God,
it was
that was
huge deal.
It made the news.
It was on the news, and then watching this episode, I was like, yeah, that's newsworthy. I can't believe she cut that.
Honestly, I can't either. I was looking at it going, if I had that hair, well, I think I would look insane. But if I had that hair, I could take over the world. It's like amazing hair.
It really is.
And she's so cute. I mean, it's just like you automatically are like, oh, he must go out with her. You can't not go out with her.
He must.
And by the way, what a cute couple.
I know.
Oh,
super
geez.
cute.
I remember almost nothing about her except that she was so nice to me. I mean, she could tell this was like she'd been in the business forever. She'd done a bunch of stuff. This was like my 6th episode, and we would sit in between scenes. I remember we were at the Disney lot at the time, and our trailers were outside, and we would sit on the curb, and we'd talk about music, and we talked about book. I mean, she was just like, she kept me chill kind of the whole week, and maybe that's one of the reasons I was more relaxed during this episode. But I distinctly just remember how nice a human being she was. She was great.
Did you have any sort of crush on her?
Of course I had a crush on her. She's Kerri Russell. But I never never tried to hit on her or do anything inappropriate. But I mean, it's hard not to be near boyfriend? Somebody. I don't remember.
Did you have a girlfriend?
Were you dating Nikki Cox at this point?
Maybe.
You may have been dating Nikki because Nikki had just been on the episode.
I may have been dating Nikki. I have no idea. And dating is put in quotes, by the way, is 15-year-old dating. But again, 16. It was 16. She was 15. I was 16.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it was. She was just. Yeah, she was so sweet. I have no idea if she has a boyfriend or not. But she was so nice to me and very easy to work with, and was like, kind of running me through what certain things in the script meant, which we'll get into in the later scene.
I can't wait to hear
that.
You'll
see, because she translated something for me in a very funny way that always stuck with me. So
I can't wait.
We will get to that in a later scene.
All right, so Will does this incredible leap over the fence.
Yep.
So can I talk about this scene really quickly?
Yeah.
Because it looks great and it's awesome, and I was terrible. We did this scene. By this point, the audience had left. We had shot the scene once or twice badly. It was not this take. And Michael was like, let's move on while the audience is here. Then he got rid of the audience, and we shot this scene over and over and over again. And I could not get it right.
And it was because of you, or was it because of
me?
Lily?
It was totally me. He didn't think I was big enough. I wasn't doing it right. Certain
that
things
feels
he told
horrible,
me.
by the way.
It does.
When the whole crew is waiting on you.
And
he's like,
you can't understand what
things.
you're not doing that needs to be done. Like,
And
I know I'm not doing it, but I don't know why.
Don't do this, don't do that. So if you notice, so in this scene, I hop over the fence, and then I reach for her, and you see me pull my arm back, and it's because in the takes before, Michael's like, don't touch her. You would never touch her. You would never jump over the fence and then just touch her. So you watch me. I make a laugh, and I go to reach for her, and I shoot my hand back. So it's like, this brought me right back to shooting this thing where I was just
so you actually remember those individual beats.
Dude, this scene is burned into my brain because it was, again, focused on me, audience gone. I can't get it. Jeff Sherman, who's one of the writers and producers of the show, still remembers the scene. He's like, I remember you that night. And so we're sitting there, and I'm doing it over and over again. And then comes the bag tossing. And I've now tossed the bag 10 times.
Well, the bag toss is so good. This is crazy that it was a challenge.
That's the thing. So the last time I did it.
Because you hadn't made the sound before,
I added the sound, which I'd never done before. I went, let me toss. Who's that? And if you listen to
that is the
laughs,
most Will Friedle moment.
Oh, dude.
It's so, that is the thing that Will will do. You tell him to throw a bag and throw it, and it's funny, and it's kind of funny, but then Will just add that little thing that makes it. It's perfect. I knew it. When I heard it, I was like, that was Will. That was not in the script. There's no doubt in my mind.
Well, that's the thing. You hear a huge laugh under a ginormous laugh, The ginormous laugh is fake. They added that. The audience is gone. It's the machine. But if you listen, you can hear all the producers and the directors guffawing.
Yes.
And that's when I knew I had it. And right after that, I go to reach for her again, and I pull my arm back again, like, nope, still can't touch her.
Wow.
Still can't touch her. But
we got to go frame by frame on this.
I know. I need
is.
to watch this back.
And you can hear, I mean, in my head, I can hear the difference between the fake laugh track and them actually laughing. And that was the tuning fork I was talking about, where it's like, oh, that's the huge laugh. Like, I felt it was so natural. And that scene is what changed the whole thing for me. Like, changed the whole show for me, was that scene at probably 1 o'clock in the morning, because we're all adults. There were no kids in the scene.
No, isn't Lily in the scene?
No, we'd shot her out. So by that point,
Oh, so that's what you filmed in front of the audience. You used you used the Lily takes from the audience shoots, and then all
that
the
makes
stuff.
sense.
Yeah,
Exactly. And then there's the rest is just Kerri and myself and Bill there at like midnight or whatever, and we finally got that scene.
Well, and like Lauren said, Kerri breaks, and I, not knowing that was, I thought that was like part of it, that she as the character was also laughing at Eric, but now knowing that you added that, it was probably a real break.
It might, maybe, I don't know.
It
but
looked
it
looked like there was some authenticity to that, to me.
That's really cute.
That was a great scene. That was a very important scene for me, and
Well,
one that
it's funny
just burned into my head.
One of the things I wrote down is that this scene isn't. It's one of the first times that it isn't. The scene is entirely dependent on your performance. Do you know what I mean? Like, the story of the scene is that you are flailing or that you are performing. Like, even when you're doing your gritted teeth thing, like, this is one of those scenes where it doesn't work unless you perform at this level.
Oh my God,
know?
I'm retroactively nervous. Thank you. It's true though. We were still all finding ourselves as actors.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it. The only person who, and we've said this before, Ryder, and you don't agree, but it's true. The only person who seemed to know what they were doing and have their character down from the second they stepped on set was you.
Yeah.
The rest of us were still trying to figure it out, and you were Sean from word one of the pilot. So it was like they didn't know what Sean was, but you already had that.
Yeah.
So it was, we're still flailing as we go, and I can look at me and go, oh, I got it there. Whereas you, I was like, yeah, Ryder already knew what he was doing. So Lee was another one who kind of right from the get knew what he had his character, Bill. The rest of us, I was floundering around. So this was an important one for me.
So in the scene, if Morgan is there. She does her little lines to try and get Jessica to go out with Eric, and Morgan convinces Eric to take her to the carnival with Jessica, and Feeney says, that you should probably invite me, and so Eric reluctantly invites Feeney, and Feeney says he'd rather have gum surgery than go to the carnival, and
which was kind of dark. There was like a moment where the camera followed him, it was sort of not how it typically looks. Like, it kind of followed him as he said the joke, and he left the scene, and I was like, whoa, he does not want to go.
It just got real. Everything just got real.
Driving that point home, he does not want to go. So then we're back in the kitchen, and Corey and Amy have made 4 batches of muffins. Corey says they should call the police in case something bad happened to Grandma. He's worried about her. And Amy says she has known Grandma for a long time, and there is something that Corey should know. And Corey then realizes that Grandma is not coming to get him. Mm-hmm. And then Corey says it's not a big deal. It's just a stupid road trip. And Amy suggests that Corey calls his best bud, Sean. Corey then says, yes, I'll call my best bud, Sean. And now exactly what we had talked about in the previous episodes, the best bud, this is my go-to guy, has now been well established. You guys
I think maybe this is where I got my last name.
Yes, Mrs. Hunter. This is it.
Yeah, because has Feeney ever called me out in class? Because that would be the only time that we would have heard my last name.
I don't think he has. I know he said Mr. Matthews, Ms. Lawrence, and
didn't he say Mr. Hunter and Mr. Minkus when they both slapped their heads they're teamed up? He must have, right? He wouldn't have said Sean and.
Well, I'm trying to remember, what did it say on the script page? Did it say Sean or did it say Sean Hunter? Because remember, the first page of a script was always, it had the characters' names and then the actor playing them. And then you'd get to the guest cast, and it would be TBD.
Yeah.
So on the first page of the script, it would always said all the characters and the actors playing them. And I think my name was the 4th or 5th one in that list. But did it say our last names?
Yeah,
I don't remember
it
either.
Did.
I don't. It did?
It said our last names,
It said our last names, yeah.
So I think Sean Hunter might have always been
Sean Hunter. Yeah, you probably were always.
Because it's right, because he was Stuart Lemke when we first started. We talked about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lemke, right?
So I think I do think it was probably in there. But maybe it was one of the first times you heard it out loud on the show instead of knowing it just privately what your name was.
It's funny, like a little bell went off in my head in this scene. I think it was that at the time I remember getting a last name. Like I remember it being exciting that like, or maybe it was just that I was excited that I was referred to as the best friend. So I knew that, it meant more work for me.
Now, my question was, they obviously hadn't established your family life, but going forward, I could never remember because they switched it. Chet was always gone and you always lived with your mom, or Sean's mom was always gone and he always lived with his dad?
It's both.
It's both.
It goes both ways because there are
both
times
of his parents.
I think basically my dad abandoned me because he was a traveling salesman and I was always with my mom. But then my mom literally left our lives.
Right.
Like,
okay.
And bailed on me. And I don't know if that's until my teens or when that happens. But right. So at this point, I could be living with my mom and Stacy. My sister.
Your sister Stacy.
And your sister. It's a lovely household somewhere that then dissolves in a few episodes. Yes.
Yeah, but
and then my half-brother, my two half-brothers.
The storyline that your mom left your family is definitely the one that resonated the most to me because when he says, "Oh, Mrs. Matthews," my first thought was, "Oh, his mom's around in this opening part."
Because we did whole episodes about her coming back.
Yeah.
I think we did.
That's what it was. I thought the same
I forget
thing.
who guest starred, but because I think we ended up having two different moms, didn't I? Two different actresses.
I don't know. I had three moms.
Yeah, I was going to say,
three
didn't
dads
everybody?
and two moms. Yeah.
Everybody had multiple parents on the show except for the Matthews. Speaking of moms, because we've talked about the first few episodes, we've harped many times, and rightfully so, and we could do it again with this episode, about how good Rusty is.
Oh, my
He's
gosh.
amazing.
So good.
Betsy is really good in this episode.
So good.
Yes.
She's great. And I don't think we talk about that enough because she does anchor. I mean, a lot of the things we've talked about, they've really given her the domestic role, which again, nothing wrong with that, but she always seems to be in the kitchen or cooking something or something like that. But she is really, really good in this episode.
Yeah.
She really is. And I thought the way we touched on it earlier, but I thought the way even she approaches this, listen, I've known your grandmother for a long time. It didn't have the feeling of like, sit down, we need to talk. It had the feeling of, listen, people are going to disappoint you sometimes. And grandma has a tendency to come and go. And this may be one of those times where you're disappointed. And it was like a weighty message without feeling like you were drowning.
Yeah, and it wasn't like and also, which we'll talk about later, but the scene with the dad where it's that same thing. It wasn't like that sitcom moment where the music comes on and you get really sad and you feel bad about how your grandma doesn't care. It's like they framed it in such an interesting way. I just thought that was really smart. And it felt like really authentic to life. Like some people are like this and that's okay. Like you could still love her.
Yeah, no judgment, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Corey calls his best bud Sean. Mrs. Matthews Mrs. Hunter answers and says that Sean has gone fishing,
which is great. That's
Corey's
a great little story
dad.
twist. I think
it was very cute. And so Corey's
I felt sad
upset
for Corey.
I know. Well, he was really bummed by it. Like it was compared to, and maybe he was just projecting his anger about the Cal Ripken thing onto that. But like considering he had been so excited about Cal Ripken, he really seemed significantly more bummed about the fishing situation than he did about Grandma.
Well,
but I think it's also his responsibility. You know, he forgot.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
knows
He
that there's
really
no one he
forgot.
can blame but himself.
Right.
That's what I
Yeah.
love. It's like it's so much worse that he just because I forgot. Like I created this situation. I love that beat.
True. It's not out of his control. It was totally in his control.
So he just feels bad. Yeah.
So we're in the backyard. Corey is sitting in his treehouse. Morgan, Eric, and Jessica are back from the carnival. Morgan is still feeding Jessica the lines that Eric has told her. Jessica asks who the signature is on Eric's arm. She seems a little jealous, flirty jealous. Jessica says it's obvious he used Morgan as date bait. And she said he didn't need to work so hard or really even at all. And they start kissing. And Corey is watching from his treehouse. And Alan and Sean walk up behind them as this kissing is going on. Now,
Will's big kiss.
this is your first on-screen kiss ever, is it not?
Oh, God.
It is.
Did you guys kiss
ever.
during rehearsals?
We did. And
Okay.
this is
So
where
during run-throughs
this
and
is where
rehearsals?
she taught me
Not to
what
put your
the-
tongue down her throat.
what the script meant. No, just the opposite.
Okay, I got because
actually.
I know that's happened to people.
Yeah, no, just so I'll never forget this. The script says, "And they kiss ... a good kiss."
Oh my.
I'll never forget that. And I said to her,
That's
what does that
pressure.
mean?
That's
And
just
without
gross.
missing a beat, she went, tongue.
The opposite?
It was,
blown
it was
away.
kind of, she said it tongue in cheek. Sorry. But that's exactly what I'll never forget that. I said, what does that mean? And she went, tongue. And that's literally what the script said, ... a good kiss.
I'm speechless.
So it was, yes.
So it's the difference between like a peck on the lips, or,
Yeah,
Right.
like she
you
knew.
know,
And,
and
she's
making it
been-
look
again,
like a
she-
real kiss where you're moving your head around. In her case,
Yeah.
that giant mound of hair,
Yeah.
moving it around. That's
She-
kind of all you see. You don't really see the kiss.
No,
You just see.
and again, there was no reason to French kiss. You didn't have to, but she knew the industry. She knew what this meant because we had talked about. I was like, this is my first on-screen kiss, and the first run through, our teeth bumped. I've talked about this before. Like I moved in too fast, and I hit her teeth, and I was like, that's it. I'm never kissing anyone again. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
done.
People don't realize how hard it is to just do everyday normal things as an actor,
It's
let alone
literally
something
horrible.
like
No, no.
kissing.
Everyone's
Kissing
just
is
staring
awful.
at you. You've got all the producers and everyone's staring at you, and it's Kerri Russell in front of you, and our teeth bumped, and then that's all was in my head was like, oh my God, I just smashed this poor woman's teeth with my own, and I'm never kissing again, and that was a good run as a lover, and I'm done now.
But I think you were lucky that she explained how to do it because
Oh, she
that
did.
takes
She was
the
totally my
pressure
guide.
off you. Like, because it's so uncomfortable, and it's very uncomfortable for both people, especially as kids, to be like, how am I supposed to approach this? And I don't want to ask, like, how do you kiss? Or, it's like, it's very like tough. And so she made it very easy for you just to
She
say,
did.
that's okay. We're doing
Yeah.
it this way.
I started asking when I was about 18, and it was a girl a week, Ryder. We both went through this. We're just, that's your
Wow,
part now. You're going
yeah.
to kiss girl. It was like I started asking how would you
That's
like to
good.
do this?
That's
Because it's
good.
just, it's creepy to, and when, not to jump way ahead, but the Scream episode where I'm kissing Love, people are like, wow, it looks like you just jam your tongue down her throat. And I was like, well, I did, A, for the joke, and B, she was actually my girlfriend. Like she knew we were going to kiss. But if it's, hi, it's nice to meet, like Marguerite Moreau, when she came on, another wonderful actress and a really nice person, it was like, we talked a little bit about it because it wasn't just like, hi, it's nice to meet you. Now I have to jump on you and throw my tongue down your
Right.
throat. It's really creepy. So it was, and a lot of that is because of Kerri, because Kerri was like, this is what it means. This is what we'll do. And she kind of held my hand and walked me through it because it was hugely uncomfortable. It's just, everyone talks about that. Like, oh man, you got to kiss all these girls, or you got to do all this. And it's like, it's not awesome.
No,
You think you might think it is, but it really is horribly uncomfortable to do in front of an audience and hearing people go, woo, and all this. It's really uncomfortable.
Well, and chemistry is something that like you can't put your finger on, and just because they want you to have chemistry with someone doesn't mean you actually do have chemistry with somebody.
Yep.
And
Yep.
not everyone kisses the same. Not every so like things.
That's what
that,
I would say in response to what Will just said. Like there were times when it was fun, but
totally.
there were
Sure,
other
if
times
you
when it
liked the
wasn't, and it
person.
really just depended on the person.
Yeah, that's
It
the
wasn't
other
whether
thing.
they were pretty or not. It was just literally that chemistry thing. Like there were times when I was like, I do not want to have to kiss this person again. Like it is awful.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there are other times when you're like, oh, that was fine. We can do that
But
again.
you also, we should at least address, because especially in this day and age, it needs to be talked about, the kind of power disparity that's going on, because
Yeah.
we're regulars on the
regular.
show. So we have a job. We know we're going to have a job. And here's somebody who's coming on who is a guest cast. And it's like, I'm going to do whatever the regular, because I don't want, so it puts the actors in a position of saying, I'm not going to say,
Especially a
I don't
young
want you to
actress.
put your tongue down my throat. You know what I mean? Puts the guest actors in a position, these young women coming in having to say, I don't want you to put your tongue down my throat. And you're putting them in that position. And a lot of people at the time, especially, I don't know, it's weird. The whole situation is just bizarre.
Well, that's why
yeah.
the role of an intimacy coordinator makes so much sense to
my
me.
God, yeah.
I love that idea. I mean, I had never heard of that when we were, that never existed. And now
Yeah.
it's become pretty standard on sets, and I love it. I think
Yeah.
that I've never worked with one personally, but I totally think that that's a necessary role. Because you can't just trust that a director or a producer is going to have the wherewithal or the experience or the delicate tone or whatever is required of that
morality,
situation.
frankly.
Or the morality, right? There's a lot of different ways this could go, and I think having an assigned person just to navigate that with the actors is great. And yeah, an essential role. But yeah, I mean, that's basically what we're talking about is the need for an intimacy coordinator.
Lauren, what's your experience with on-screen kisses?
Oh my God. I always thought I would never have to do it for some reason, and I've had to do so many crazy.
Isn't there an amazingly hysterical moment in Jurassic World though, where you stop him from kissing you?
Yeah,
that's like one of my favorite beats. And he's like, wait.
That was very fun.
No. Oh, okay, that's such a great scene. You're
totally
hysterical.
That was very fun. But like my first one was like a music video, and it was like supposed to be really nasty, like spit. So we had fake spit in our mouths that was like tasted really bad. Yeah, but it was still my first time doing it, so I was like, oh no. And then like it's like the spit's dangling between the two people. It was just really rough. And then
wait, I'm sorry. Was it? I don't want to delve into that, but I have to.
Yeah.
Was it supposed to be funny, or was it supposed to be sexy, crazy?
No, it's supposed to just be kind of like weird. Like it's a music video where like food is singing. Like there's just a lot going on. Like it's a They Might Be Giants video. Like it's kind of like weird already. The song is weird. The music video is weird. All of it's weird. And I was so excited to do the video because I love that band. But the kiss rough because you have to have this like it's like cherry flavor but not, you know. And I was like gagging. Really, and then you don't want to be gagging at someone that you're kissing. It's like that's not polite. So
oh God, I can't take my eyes off Danielle. Danielle's about to lose.
It's really
awesome.
disgusting. It's like the idea is really. It's like it's actually going to make me. It's going to make me gag.
I know. It really is sick.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, but
so
it's
disgusting. That idea of like a mouthful of fake spit and then leaning in with something in your mouth to kiss somebody.
I know because you're holding it like you're like.
Oh my God, keep talking about it. She's going to throw up.
It's sick. We won't keep talking about it. But I've had to do a bunch of weird kisses or like kisses where they're like, make it a good one, sort of, where someone's like, can you really do it this time?
That's
and it's like, okay. And then you look at the other person, you're like, okay. And then you just like really do it. But it's like, geez, like it's just a weird job.
Yeah. It's a weird job. That's the thing. You're at work. You're at work. Yeah. It's like, it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Kerri Russell was very, very nice and took my hand and kind of guided me
I
the
really
whole way.
appreciate that. And when I've definitely had situations where I've been so grateful for extra communication, and as I work more and more, I feel like I get more confident saying like, here's how we're going to do this and whatever. But I definitely in the first times doing that kind of stuff didn't say anything and felt more like I'm just in my own little world as we like prepare for this moment, and then we have to do it and
So it's strange to me. We've talked about it a little, but it's very strange that in the 90s, kissing on a kid's TV show was a totally normal thing. Yep. And now it does not seem to be the case, right?
No.
Like family sitcoms, I don't think it have this component. Why is that? I mean, because it's not like we've gotten more conservative. Is it because we've actually gotten, like, there's more access to porn? So, like, we don't, like, people don't, like, you watch a kid's show, you don't need to watch people kissing. You can go find that somewhere else.
Like even kids can find it. And like, there's so many shows that are beyond their age.
It's like because the accessibility of that kind of content has been, like, completely enabled, right? Culturally, like we can find if kids want to watch people kissing, I guess you can search for that, right? So but back then it seemed like you were servicing the idea of like all being slightly lascivious, like having it be a little sexy, and that was like part of the woo. But now that would just seem out of place. Like it's like I'm not watching the show for that. You know,
I wonder if it's because it was like TGIF. If you think of that, like families gathering around to watch it. So you want to like give something for everyone. It's like there might be the 17-year-old kid sitting there. There might be an 8-year-old. There might be a dad and mom and whatever. So it's like that. It was like you're pleasing a bunch of different audiences in one show, which we don't really need to do now.
That's what I was going to say. It's there's no more, for lack of a better phrase, in between shows. It's either Disney Channel or it's a family show like what was the Modern Family.
Yeah.
It's like the idea where it's kind of like in between now. So just like Lauren's saying, where it's like kind of teenagers.
Do you see people making out on Modern Family?
Well, they take it even farther. They talk about sex and she got pregnant.
They talk about it, but do you watch people?
Yeah,
I'm genuinely curious.
Yes, okay. There was an episode where you walk in and the parents were in. We might have to dub this. We're in. I mean, like literally.
Oh, okay.
And it's like so it's one of those things where
I guess they go there.
That's on a show. I mean, that's on a television show.
I would have believed you without the description. I believed you when you said that, yes, they go there.
But yeah.
But can I throw out
really
another
go there.
suggestion or another idea that maybe, is there a possibility, and maybe this is just my hopeful, wishful thinking, but like, is there a part of it that also is about that the people writing the content are now uncomfortable asking real 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds?
I was thinking that as well.
Because I know that when I do think that's a part of it, because I know that when
Hopefully.
I have been on sets, the conversation around, well, we would never ask a child to do that. Well, we would never, like, we're not doing that because that's an uncomfortable thing to ask any 14-year-old to do, is now.
Back then, they weren't asking that question.
No, they weren't asking that
No.
question. We were actors. It didn't matter whether or not we were uncomfortable or comfortable with it. Whatever the writer wrote is what you did. And you were made to feel that if you did have if something did make you uncomfortable, it was inappropriate for you to express that. You weren't really supposed to say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to feel comfortable. You're a prop as an actor, basically. You say the words that you do what's written on this page, no questions asked.
Having autonomy as a child actor is very difficult. You know, you start to believe that if you stand up for yourself or do not want to do something or do not want to say a certain line a certain way or whatever, you feel like you're making waves and you feel like you're part of a problem, and it's so unhealthy. You know, and
I just started not listening.
Right.
I mean, you
'Cause
guys
you
would
were
always make
older.
fun of me at the note session because I would always I'd get notes and I go, okay.
Yeah.
And you guys would joke with me later, like you and Ben would walk by and go like, okay, not knowing that what I was actually doing was just going, all right, and then I'm going to do it however the hell I want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's just what it's going to be. So there's a great kind of freedom in that, where it's like, at the end of the day, I'm the one standing in front of the camera. So unless you're going to walk out onto the set and move my mouth, I'm going to say it the way I want to say it.
But in the meantime, we're going to keep you after the show is over and keep doing this scene over and over and over again. So Will, for what you're saying is like you were in a battle of wills and they were going to keep going until you made it funny.
Absolutely. But that came later. The just saying okay and doing it my own way probably wasn't until about 4th or 5th season. I mean, that was like later in the day where I was like, I got this now, and so I'll listen to your notes, but I'm going to do it the way that I want to do it. And I got that from Bill and Rusty. I mean, what you saw when they got notes, they were like, all right. And then they go and rehearse. And it was like, let's really blah, 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 blah. And so there was like the power grab. It wasn't even a power grab. It was just trying to balance it again, where it was just kind of like, okay, we're past the point of just put the words in my mouth, which was crazy.
Okay, so we have.
So Sean comes in wearing a funny hat and a vest.
Now that's where I can chime in. Now,
Funny hat.
Okay, if we are really going to get to that, what's up with the hat?
The hat and the vest.
It's cute.
Giant hat. That's 3, but the hat is like it's 3 sides. Giant.
You know,
bill
they
on
were
the
just
hat.
like, let's say they went fishing as boldly as possible.
it was very goofy
and
movie.
it was like that.
Yeah.
It was a goofy movie. It was.
This is actually I would say this scene is one of the most sitcom-y scenes ever. From start to finish, like all the woos, the kissing, the jokes themselves, Eric, the lip master. This feels like the show Boy Meets World was most of the time not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is like this is us
80s.
kind of failing to distinguish ourselves from pretty mainstream, like not great sitcoms. This is like joke, meh. So yeah, that me
Even
showing up in
Alan,
that gear was like, of course,
nice
of course.
job.
Like,
yeah.
ugh,
Alan's like
you know.
congratulating him on kissing her.
Yeah, that
and
part
he's
was
like,
kind of weird.
gross.
Nice.
But
you
I did
know.
get a laugh from Corey at the end, like, you kissed a feenie, or what did he say?
He swapped
Yeah, you
spit with
kissed
a
a feenie.
feenie.
Swap spit
Yeah.
with a
I like
feenie.
gross.
It was real spit though, Lauren.
Categorizing her as, I know. Categorizing her as like a feenie, though, was just great, because it's like, she's so cute. It's like, that's just a funny way.
It is. It was a funny way of thinking about it. Calling her a
She's still a
feenie is
feenie.
really cute.
So this is the first reference to Sean eating so much. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they
Yes.
actually did write it in, because we've talked about it on the show. I'm always eating in scenes, and it was actually written in. So I guess it was a character.
It was a
decision
character
that someone
thing
made.
that you probably
Right.
were not eating at home. And so
Right.
everywhere
So I
you
ate
were.
all the worms and everything.
Yeah,
Right.
you were always eating.
Pretty funny.
But going back to you being the most adjusted actor already, you actually ate in scenes. And I mean, to the point where all actors, I was literally maybe an hour before we came on this podcast watching an episode of Sopranos. and these amazing multi-award-winning actors are pushing their food around with their
That's
fork.
good, man. That's what good acting is.
No, but
scary.
when you really go, sometimes it really works. Like I was just watching something, I can't remember what it was, and it was a more recent thing, and the girl was like, I'm gonna eat all these donuts, and I was like, no, she's not. And then she stood there with a donut, and she literally picked off a corner of a donut. I was like, shove a donut in your mouth.
Yeah.
I'm going to need you to shove
Be a
one donut in
human
your mouth.
being.
Like, yeah.
Exactly. You actually ate, and they're all these shows. You push around the food with your fork. That's all
I
you do.
agree.
You push it
I
around.
like to see people eating. I really do.
Yeah.
It's real.
It's great. I like it.
Well, maybe I would agree with you, but I have PTSD from Boy Meets
No,
World.
and it makes you sick. I mean, I've definitely gone for it. Like I was on the show Good Girls, and I had to eat some donuts and shove them in my mouth as part of my character being like sloppy. And I just kept going, but by the end, I was like spitting them out, and like it was just getting disgusting.
Yeah.
It's like, you can commit to a point, but
True.
It's the push around and the fork shake. The fork shake is big. You put one piece of food on your fork and you shake it over the plate as if that is fake eating. And it's as you're doing your line, you're just shaking your fork. And
that
it's
is
like,
a common one. The moving
is.
of the fork.
Yeah.
It's very strange. But Ryder, you always ate. Very impressive.
So Corey tells Alan he didn't go to Baltimore with Grandma because she didn't show up. And then we move into the kitchen, and there are hundreds of muffins everywhere. And Alan tries them and says they're a little dry. He says he's been in Corey's shoes before with Grandma not showing up, and he tells a story about Grandma not turning in his permission slip in school, so he couldn't go on a school field trip. And
So we go from the least Boy Meets World scene to the most Boy Meets World scene.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like this
Yep.
is what made the show special. Rusty's performance, giving this monologue, the casualness of them just sitting down and having this without like the special music playing, like you were saying,
Yeah.
Lauren. Like there's an effortlessness to the scene, and it's diffusing, right? It's diffusing all the tension. It's telling Corey, like, you're spinning out, dude. Like, you're just being a kid right now, and I'm going to tell you this life lesson, but it's going to be relaxing. It's not like it's not like you're in trouble. It's not like anybody did anything wrong. This is just life, kid. And that it's like such a great tone.
It's also not from Feeney, which I like.
Yeah.
There's not we don't get a lesson from Feeney at all in this episode.
it felt like the kind of lesson that I wish more people gave. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's not something that you hear very often. I just think a lot of shows would have made that a big, dramatic, sad thing that his grandma's like this. Maybe when she comes back in, they have like a heart-to-heart and she explains why she's like this or something. And it was just more like he got to kind of accept it. And he accepted it really well. Like, he just was like, okay, yeah.
Not to be the person who always has like the therapy background on the whole thing.
Yeah, no, please.
But like, I think the thing that is the most interesting to me about this scene is that it's all about POV. And we regularly tell ourselves stories about our lives. And Alan could have very well, and he would have been correct if his POV had been, my mom always abandoned me. When I needed my mom, she wasn't there. And in big, important moments in my life, I couldn't count on her. That's a POV. That's a POV from his experience he could have had. It's the same POV Corey could have now. My grandmother made me a promise about something I was so excited about. And when I trusted her, she let me down.
Right.
Or the same exact situation from just a different POV, a different story we could tell ourselves is, Grandma is flawed. And sure, she may not be there after she's promised to be there. But on the other hand, the moments when she's made it up to me, the other moments when she is there for me are so salient to me because they were so special. And that my mom wasn't watching the takeoff. She was watching me. And I knew she was watching me.
That
and I
made
knew
me cry.
Yes.
That was good.
Like,
It's great. It's a great description, Danielle. It's not, and I would just add, it's also redirecting to the relationship versus a very specific experience, right? Like, I'm not going to hold on to one memory. I'm going to hold on to this relationship ongoing. Like, I could hold a grudge, or I could just let that one go because I know there's another one coming that's going to be great. And so it's redirecting from this one specific memory or this one loss to you. It's better to have a relationship with this person in the long run. And
you can't love people
beautiful.
in slices. You take the whole thing or you don't. Yeah.
and there will be conflict. In every relationship, there will be conflict. And it doesn't mean that that person is bad or that relationship is necessarily bad. It's just that there will be conflict and there will be moments of being let down in every relationship. And it doesn't need to be, you can tell a story to yourself that could make it way worse than it is, or you could tell the story to yourself that's much more like, this is the person, these are their flaws, and I love them anyway, and here are some great things about them. I just thought it was a very well thought out POV for them to have, not only just to see how well established and like what a great, well-rounded person Alan is, but also that's the story he's going to pass on to Corey about his grandmother instead of, your grandma's going to let you down a lot.
Yeah. I really, every time we watch these shows now, I really wish I had understood how good Rusty was when we were doing these episodes.
I know.
Yeah.
He's so good, and I wish I got
something that I thought about.
then.
Something I thought about earlier when we were talking about Betsy. Something that happens on a sitcom set often is everybody gets so obsessed with the jokes, with the comedy, with the beats. It starts to become who's getting the biggest laughs, who's getting, and not like in a bad way. It's mostly supportive. It's mostly like, oh my God, did you see what Will's doing this week? Did you see what Ben's doing this week? And we would be aware of the sort of bigger swings that people are taking comedy wise, that we would totally, as a community, overlook the more subtle, basic performances that somebody like Betsy's doing in this episode, which is just as hard, by the way. But I bet you, more than anything, Betsy was probably disappointed as an actor often that she didn't get more laughs, that she wasn't being written a better role. Because when you're on a sitcom, you keep thinking, well, where am I going to get my chance to get a joke in or, get a laugh or have a whole episode about me. But the reality is she's wonderful in this episode.
She's great.
Very small part, but she's wonderful. And same with Rusty. I feel like we probably just breezed over this scene in our minds because it wasn't as funny as you throwing the bag, so that week, what will we talk about the next week? We're not sitting around going, Rusty's monologue. And, you just totally take it for granted. But the reality is it's genius because it's so understated, so simple, so believable. And, this could have been so cheesy in the hands of a wrong actor. It's a monologue on a sitcom, but he nails it. He just throws it away.
One of the things I was thinking about, which was interesting, and again, I don't know why my mind went to this place, was they easily could have made it Betsy's mom and given Betsy a better role this week.
Oh, yeah.
It could have been Betsy giving the lesson. It could have been Betsy giving the monologue. Because now Alan has done that in a number of episodes. Yeah. And it easily could have been an episode where they really let Betsy's character shine.
They were very focused on father-son.
That would have been good
male,
casting
male.
for her mom, too.
Yes.
Yeah, it would have been great. And it would have actually taken Betsy's character to the next level, but it was Alan again, which again, he nailed it, of course. But that went through my head was like,
that is
why
a choice.
Not break the Betsy character here, break the Amy character here, and they just didn't.
The answer is, I think, a lot of male writers and a lot of boy POV and that boy on our show, the boy POV was very heavily reliant on his relationship with his father, more so than
his male
relationship
teacher
and his male teacher and his
male
best friend.
His
Wait,
male
guys
brother.
know
And his male
everything. You're right.
You know what? That is what it is.
Boys Club.
I don't know why that hit me, but I was like, man, I would have broken the Amy character.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't really want to break this open, but man, it felt like a side yard. When that
Okay, I actually was going to bring it up, but I didn't want to get into a fight with anyone here.
I was like, wait, where are the mums? Where's the car?
Well, okay.
This can't be the
I thought the
backyard
same
if they're
thing,
running out
except,
there.
Okay.
Got a lot of questions about how she pulled up and came in.
Did you see that when she ran
a
out?
lot of questions.
She ran out and I thought if she went to the right, downstage, toward camera.
Yes.
Then it could have been a side yard, that's where she pulled up, because he's talked about the mums being right there in the area where we do those scenes over the fence, but instead she ran toward the back.
The treehouse.
The
She went
treehouse.
upstage.
She ran upstage toward the treehouse, which makes
I
me
don't
think
get that at all. Hold
which,
on.
So
that means that her car was probably
either
in the front of Feeney's house, further to the right.
Exactly. Maybe there's a driveway that backs.
Camera right.
Yes, camera right.
Okay.
I'm not
I
saying
have always
anything.
thought it was a side yard
Thank
my
you.
whole life. Okay. And then I was like, I'm going to watch this episode. I'm going to try to do the math on this.
Listen, the truth is, it's a very weirdly designed setup because Like Ryder says, the front door of the Matthews house where Rue McClanahan walked into thunderous applause is directly opposite that back door, which means that is a backyard. However, there are also double doors in the living room that go out to somewhere. So what does that go out to?
And I'm picturing, so like when I'm picturing looking at it just as like my brain's just filling it in, it's like I'm looking from the front.
Right, that's what you think. Right.
You're looking from the front of the house.
Right, like my brain's filling in that wall being the front. That doesn't make sense because they're coming in. But I also know many people use the side door to enter their home. So it's like, this is not uncommon. So maybe that's the side door.
Does that front door match the exterior?
It feels like a front door.
It's red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it matches the exterior of the house.
To me, it's also, it just, in my head, maybe it's an East Coast thing, different than a West Coast thing, but we never call somebody who lived behind us our neighbor. It's like, I live next to my teacher. He's my neighbor. That to me means
call
on
everybody
the
who's
side.
around me.
Exactly.
Everyone.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. It's
degrees.
always like, oh no, they live behind us or they're my neighbor. That's always how we would say it.
I think
this episode kind of changed it for me where I was like, it's a backyard. But I was also wondering, did the fence ever get higher? I was so surprised by how low the fence was.
No, it was a low fence the whole time.
It stayed there the whole time, right?
It was low.
I think
they
so.
wanted
It's an
everyone to be
intimate,
close.
neighborly relationship. Yeah.
It really is.
It's also a tiny backyard. I mean, if that's the backyard, it's
That's
minuscule.
true.
Yeah.
I think it's let's be honest. It's the '90s. It was whatever was convenient in the moment. Is
Nobody
what
had figured any
No
of this
one
out. Nobody
cares.
thought
no
of
one
it.
cared. We were buying anything. So
It's the sack yard.
we get this
I'll show myself
amazing
out.
scene. We get this amazing scene with Alan and Corey, and then the Winnebago shows up again. We hear La Cucaracha. Grandma comes in and tells Corey that something came up. He says it's okay that they didn't go. Eric then runs in and says, "Quick, Dad! If Feeney comes in here, I've been in my room for the last 20 minutes." Sure enough, Feeney comes walking in and he says that Eric and his hormones need to stay inside the house. And Grandma stands up and says, I will vouch that he's been in his room. And Feeney says, well, that's impossible because your car just ran over my mom's. And that's pretty much the end. She runs out to go, I guess, run over more of his mom's?
She wants to run over more of the mums.
Yeah.
I would love to have seen some type of real scene, not just that, but like a real scene between Bill Daniels and Rue McClanahan.
I know.
Two old school actors, like some scene of just the two of them to me would have been awesome.
I wonder what their relationship was. I wonder if they knew each other before.
I don't know.
We should have asked
it's just knowing how small Hollywood is, especially back then.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had worked together and knew each other.
But that seemed like a missed opportunity for me. And I understand that it's a kid show and, two older people on some might not, whatever. But that to me as an actor, I was like, man, I would love to have seen them, something more than what we saw.
And their characters would have been good at odds with each other, too. Because she was like freewheeling and having fun.
Well, and that's why I wondered after watching that. I was like, I wonder if she was supposed to be recurring. And I wonder why that didn't happen. Because she was such a great character. She could have gone at odds. I mean, she could have been at odds with anybody on the show. So
I wouldn't be surprised if they tried. You know, I mean, that's one of those negotiation things. Like she had 1 week, she got paid a certain amount, and then she was like, no, I'm good.
I'm good, thanks,
Yeah.
So then our tag, Corey and Sean are on the bed admiring Corey's baseball card that grandma got him from a swap meet. And Sean says that his grandma must really love him because that card is about $150. And Corey realizes that it's possible she killed a man in Reno just to watch him die.
This made me laugh, though, because anyone who knows Ryder Strong, the idea that he has baseball card knowledge at his fingertips is so not Ryder.
I would have had, at this point, I would have had Garbage Pail Kid knowledge.
Right.
That was the only card I ever collected as a kid. I had a
Gathering.
big Garbage Pail Kid collection. I organized it. I thought it would be worth money someday. It probably would be worth money, and I can't find it. I have no idea where it was.
They are actually worth
money.
money.
Yeah, they are, right? I
Yeah,
should have kept them. And then Magic the Gathering cards came later. Not at this point, but I would have been collecting Magic within. No, wait. At this point, it probably was already
It was
playing
beta
Magic.
probably by then.
Yeah, because I was in Unlimited. I bought my first packs during Unlimited Magic the Gathering. So if somebody wants to backdate that and find out, so I would have been playing Magic. This was November of '93. I think I was already playing Magic. All right. Anyway, those are the cards I would have cared about.
But that was so funny. Ryder talking like, no, this card, Cal Ripken. I was like, he had to look up what Cal Ripken even was.
But Ryder, your hair is glorious in this scene.
It's really got a lot going on. I was like actually pretty surprised by it because I felt like I remembered it more as a straight mushroom situation, but it had like depth and curl and wave.
It's really where I noticed they straightened his hair with the round brush and it was so shiny. It was real, and it was long. I felt like maybe you needed a haircut here, but it looked great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It was really
classic.
Thanks.
It was really great. Well, Lauren, I'm so thankful that you were here with us this week. And where can we find you? Where can we watch you? Also, I want to talk to you really briefly. You have an animated show coming up, right? Called Bad Crimes. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's really fun. It's me and Nicole Byer, who is one of my good friends and also is just so hilarious. She's also the host of Nailed It, if people watch that on Netflix. But she's on 5 trillion shows. I think she had 5 billboards on Ventura at the same time recently. I was like, this is not fair what's happening. But she deserves it. But it's like a send up of like SVU and stuff like that. So it's like we're detectives solving crimes, but we're really raunchy and like, nasty women. It's really fun. But that'll be on Netflix
can we see you?
in a bit.
Where can we find you? Tell us your socials. Give us all that information.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lauren Lapkus, and my podcast Freedom and Newcomers that I do with Nicole Byer, where we watch things we've never seen. We've been covering all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and mercifully it's coming to an end soon, and I cannot wait. It's been so much to watch.
12 movies.
Yeah. We've watched 20 movies. And there's 27 though, so we're not.
Did you guys watch them? Really? Did you watch them in chronological order or release date?
Yes,
Oh, chronological.
yes.
Okay.
Or release date.
Release date order.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not chronological. I'm sure there's back. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole
you're gonna have
formula for starting with Captain America.
You got to go
we
back
didn't
to
do
Wonder
that.
Woman. Well, you're going to have to go back and do it again then, and I'll be
think you're
happy
right.
to sit
Yeah,
next to
then
you the
I'll
whole
understand.
time.
Okay, good. You're a fan. You love that stuff. I mean, I'm getting into it. I'm finding a lot of joy where I can, but
I'm so glad my son hates all things Marvel, and that has just made my life so much easier.
I
It'll
know.
change. I'm gonna
we
corrupt
did
him.
Star Wars for an episode, and I was like, if I have children who love Star Wars, I guess at least I'll know what this is now because I've been avoiding it my entire life, and I'm afraid. But
Wait, you had never seen the original Star Wars, the 77 A New Hope? Whoa, Lauren.
So you really were
Lauren.
more of a TV kid, huh?
yeah, and
seems like
not
there's a
really
divide.
fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, those are my podcasts. And then I don't know, you can just watch me on random show. Good Girls is all streaming on Netflix, and I really enjoyed being on that show. And my movie, The Wrong Missy, is on Netflix, and that's it. We'll see what happens next.
You're so talented, and I love you, and I love being a mom
I love you
with
too.
you.
Me too. It's so
Lauren
awesome.
has the cutest baby girl who's about to be 1. I still need to RSVP to your party. We're coming.
Oh yeah. Oh good. Great.
Yeah.
And you have the cutest children in the world, and it's been so great having you like guide me in so many moments with new baby. Oh my God, it's crazy.
Babies. All right. Well, thank you for listening. You can follow us at Pod Meets World Show on Instagram. You can email us your thoughts at podmeetsworldshow@gmail.com. And also, we've got merch. We've got t-shirts at podmeetsworldshow.com. There are, I think, 3 shirts that you guys can get. Lauren, you let me know which one is your favorite. We'll make sure we get you a shirt.
Googling.
And and Lauren, also just thank you so much this was your idea for us to start this podcast. And it's really,
when I just
was a
threw
great
that
one.
out there a few years ago, after that con, I was like,
people don't know that, but it was really Lauren's
Thank
idea.
you for that.
So thank you for
that,
this. And
you're so welcome, and I'm so glad you're doing it. And
We owe it all to
for
you.
my royalties. Yeah.
Never giving Ryan credit.
So now to the audience, we love you all. Pod dismissed. Pod Meets World is an iHeart podcast produced and hosted by Danielle Fishel, Will Friedle, and Ryder Strong. Executive producers Jensen Karp and Amy Sugarman. Executive in charge of production Danielle Romo. Producer and editor Tara Sudbach. Producer Lorraine Vurez. Engineer and Boy Meets World superfan Easton Allen. Our theme song is by Kyle Morton of Typhoon. Follow us on Instagram at Pod Meets World Show or email us at podmeetsworldshow@gmail.com.